You're listening to the Ringer NBA show presented by FanDuel. America's #1 sportsbook is the best place to bet on the NBA because not only does FanDuel have all your favorite player props, but now you can even check out stats and recent performance trends right in the app before you make your picks. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today to get in on the action. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
What's poppin'? Real ones. Logan Murdock here. Wait, nope, not there. Howard motherfucking Beck. It's in full effect. He is here. After 36 minutes of technical difficulties. I apologize, Howard.
Not my technical difficulties. Let's be clear. Logan's
absolutely
technical difficulties.
Absolutely my technical difficulties right now. I'm trying to just figure out this mic situation and troubleshoot myself with the limited tech experience that I have. Jeez. Anyways, a lot to talk about on Real Ones. First off, like we had a show and then all of a sudden, Raj is not here, so we have I'm doing this differently on the fly right now. But the last episode with me, you, and Raja, the news had just come down that Michael Malone was fired, and I want to get to that to start off the podcast. We'll get into the play-in stuff later on in the Western Conference because I really think that deserves its own segment. That will be happening in the second segment, but we got a little bit more clarity on the why Michael Malone has been fired along with Calvin Booth. There's a really good article in The Athletic from Tony Jones and Sam Amick, friend of the show, basically laying out the why and the how and all these things. And I want to read a segment of their piece about the rationale of this firing. And it says the rationale was twofold. In making this move, the Nuggets would eliminate much of the negativity that team officials had struggled to navigate all season, an emotional roller coaster that appeared to be bothering Nikola Jokic in particular more than ever. And throughout the days, I'm not sure what you've been hearing, Howard, was kind of the same thing that has been percolating league-wide, is that this move was made because Calvin Booth and Michael Malone couldn't get along, and it was affecting everybody on the team, including their face of the franchise, Nikola Jokic. And management said, or upper management was like, we can't have this anymore. This is just not sustainable, and it's not good. Based on the clarity that we've been getting in recent days, do you think that this was still a good move to do this around this part of the season? And did it have to be done at this point based on the context that we have gotten over the last few days?
My first instinct on these is always, if you think you still have a runway in the playoffs, firing a coach with days to go, or in the case of the Grizzlies, weeks to go, is just inherently destabilizing. Like the timing of it, having a change in leadership, a change in voice. Maybe not a change in system because no one's installing a new system at this late date, but still, it feels destabilizing. And so my instinct on both of these incidents has been to say, I just don't understand why you would do this now. If things are going south, I get it. If you think you're going to fire the coach anyway, I get it. But you're potentially short-circuiting some semblance of postseason success by throwing yet another variable into the equation. That said, in both cases, we talked about the Grizzlies thing last week. I explained what I had heard about that. Put them aside. In the case of the Nuggets, it's not just that Malone and Calvin Booth were at odds. And as our colleague Zach Lowe, I love being able to say that phrase, as our colleague Zach Lowe said on his pod yesterday that he did with our buddy Mark Stein, it's been described as a Cold War, but like cold is almost the wrong adjective. It's like, it was like I don't remember what Zach said, but it was like a flaming hot, feud. It was bad. It was really bad. But you don't fire the coach and GM with 3 games left in the regular season when you have the best player on earth and still have a plausible case to make a run for the finals. You don't do that just to sort out the GM versus coach tension. That cannot possibly cast enough of a pall over the locker room, independent of anything else. Which brings me to this. Michael Malone was fighting battles in every direction. Definitely with Calvin Booth in the front office, but there were problems in the locker room too. There's no question about that. I've heard multiple versions of this in the last few days. And I think, you have to conclude, it's the only logical conclusion, that what ownership saw in deciding to make this move was, we do still have the best player on earth. We do still have the core of a team that won a championship 2 years ago. We do still have the semblance of a team that can make a run. Like, okay, maybe the Thunder are the clear favorites in the West. They are by record, but everything else is a jumble. We've got as good a shot, the Nuggets, as anybody to at least get to the conference finals and maybe even win it. The only reason you fire Michael Malone at this stage is if you think he's an impediment to that. Not just because he's fighting with Calvin Booth. Like, we got to use just logic here. Forget intel, forget anything I've heard the last couple of days of talking to people around the league. All of that's relevant, of course. But even just basic logic tells you the Nuggets concluded that we needed a new voice right now for this playoff run. And we think we have a better shot with David Adelman right now than with Michael Malone. That's the only conclusion you can draw.
Well, it's not even just that. I mean, from a coaching perspective, I mean, there was a lot of clashing within, Booth and Michael Malone. But a lot of that was, at least in the locker room perspective, based on the story and based on stuff that we heard, is like the insistence on playing Russell Westbrook above other guys that have been more successful in their roles, specifically during the back half of the season, right? And you have that coupled with just the Nuggets have been bad post All-Star break, just for whatever reason. One of the reasons, obviously, is the infighting, but not giving enough of a leash to younger guys and guys that can really help the team. I mean, a lot of that, the Nuggets get a lot of a bad rap for having short rotations, but that's kind of a Michael Malone thing, right? Like that, he does have a bit of a short leash on his rosters. He didn't do that necessarily with a veteran group, but as he had younger guys, it was hard to get into his rotation. He trusted Russell Westbrook a little bit too much down the stretch, even after egregious mistakes, and kept him on the floor. Which is another twofold thing because Calvin Booth brought him in, right? So like it's kind of a convoluted thing, but the biggest thing that I'm getting is it couldn't go on because of I like Michael Malone, but I was told from somebody like it's just the old school approach that can't be brought into this new school. That can only go to a certain in this modern NBA, Michael Malone's style can only go so far. The fact that it went, 8-9 years says a lot about his coaching acumen, but I think a lot of people just got fed up. And just, Pat Riley went through this with the Lakers, right? Where people are just burned out with your messaging. Now, the other part of this I thought that was interesting, Howard, is the stealth recruitment of Tim Connolly maybe to come back to steer this ship, which is also an interesting thing, right? Because Connolly's also the guy that brought in Michael Malone and put into this group. So there's that element of it as well. How attractive is the Nuggets job, and who do you think will ultimately fill it? Do you think Connolly will come back, or do you think that there is maybe going to be more of a nationwide search for a new GM and thus an extension of coach?
I mean, it's interesting because, Connolly he hired Michael Malone. He also hired Calvin Booth. Calvin Booth was his right-hand guy and then Booth replaced him when Connolly left for the Timberwolves. Look, the Denver Nuggets do not exactly have a glorious history of paying people at a lot of levels, including their GM or president of basketball operations. Conley got an incredible deal. I think including, didn't he get a share of ownership or something? Like he got equity or something in the Timberwolves when he took that job. My understanding of that has been all along, like that was not so much Glenn Taylor. Like Glenn Taylor, we know Glenn Taylor is not exactly.
You're talking about not wanting to pay somebody.
Yeah, talking about not wanting to pay somebody. Also, not somebody who would know that Tim Conley's the guy you should go poach. That was by, I think, every indication, the new ownership group of Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez, who really, like, obviously Taylor was on board with it, but I think those are the guys who really went hard to get him. And they have now finally just won their battle with Taylor to take ownership fully. I think when there was still an ownership dispute in Minnesota, as long as that was going on, I think it was fair to wonder whether Tim Connelly would want to be there for the long term, given all just the static and politics that was going on there. But they may finally have stability here soon. And with a new ownership group that, for all the doubts that have been raised about them and their financing and all this, like, I think they're fine. I'm going to guess that Conley's going to stick it out there. And unless the Nuggets are going to reverse years and years of being cheapskates, I don't see them making the kind of offer that would lure Connelly.
Hey man, Stan Kroenke got an NFL team to pay for. Okay, he has bigger expenses.
They have a soccer team too, or something.
Yeah. Nuggets are just there.
Yeah, it's so no, I don't see it. But it's a good question. Like, obviously, people immediately started speculating, like, would Bob Myers take that job? I don't
know if Bob would take that job.
I'm a little skeptical too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There has not been a lot of scuttlebutt yet, where I think everybody's still processing.
Bob likes attention. Bob likes flashes. You know what I mean? Pun intended. He likes
Bob likes California, and who could blame him?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's still so fresh. A couple days later, there hasn't been a lot of scuttlebutt yet, and I have not really poked around on this as to who people think will get the GM or president job of the Nuggets when they get to the offseason. But, listen, it's been a really tough 2 years since the championship, in part because, and we went over some of this the other day, they couldn't re-sign Bruce Brown, even if they wanted to. Like, the cap rules prevented it. They couldn't keep Jeff Green. They could have kept KCP, but, like, arguably they made the right move in letting KCP walk. But still, the erosion of the championship core has been difficult. And now that leads you to a place where the front office under Calvin Booth is saying, wait a minute, we've got good young players. We think Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther and Pickett and all these guys, we think they're the guys who can replace the vets. And Michael Malone, you won't play them. You won't develop them. You won't trust them. And yes, Calvin Booth's also the one who brought in Westbrook, which then gave Malone a veteran to crutch to lean on instead. But the divide between coach and front office leads directly from, we won a championship, we couldn't keep the core together, partially because of CBA rules and payroll rules. And so I'm not going to say that the front office did a great job of backfilling those spots, because you could have found better veterans than the young guys. And if the young guys weren't ready, like, you have to trust the coach at some point to determine whether these guys are worth those minutes or whether you're sacrificing too much in the regular season. This is always a tension, right? You've seen this every day for the last 10 years, right? Steve Kerr, there's a constant push-pull there, not with him in the front office, but between Kerr and the fans. Play this guy, play that guy. And then Kerr gives the guy a little bit of rope. They flame out, and then it's like he dismisses them, and it's like, oh, Kerr didn't develop them. Well, Kerr's actually done a pretty damn good job, overall. Could he have started giving Moody more rope sooner? Maybe, but it's working out pretty well right now with Moody and Podziemski and Kuminga. But they had to earn their way there, and it's always a tricky balance for any head coach of a championship caliber team or a high playoff level team to decide how much rope to give your young guys when the expectations are win every game, make deep playoff runs, and the guys who usually do that for you are veterans. So it's tough.
Yeah.
It's
and
tough.
The other thing is an ego thing from Calvin Booth's part, right? Because he's trying to make a splash as a general manager, and he's like, yo, man, play my guys so I can be proven right that I made the right decision, right? And then Michael Malone is like, I know what I'm doing, and every time it's the classic ego clash between two guys. And one of the things that's just so interesting to me, I never seen an owner be like, well, yeah, both of y'all gone. You know, like, all right, you guys can't settle your shit. Both of you guys are gone, right? And that's the most jarring thing in all of this, right? Where, and to your point about the Connolly stuff, I feel like that was put in there to like for the Nuggets are probably saying that through back channels just to save face at this point, right? Like this is not necessarily like a great move league wide. Like it shows, and this is what I was saying about the Memphis thing and why this is doing it around this time is not good for the rest of the league because again we're in a perception based league lifestyle world right now, right? Even if this was the right decision to do, doing it right now shows that you have instability, right? Not only from uh you know outside, from inside as well, because and I don't know how much Nicola. I know Nicola was very frustrated about this, right? But like, there's no reporting or any sense that I got that he was like, "Yo, make this move right now," right? It was more of just like, "Hey, everybody's frustrated. Let's make a move of some sort." But like, you can't just do stuff like this and expect the next person, say a Bob Myers, which is probably not going to be Bob Myers, but say like somebody that you're trying to attract, they're going to see what just happened and be like, yo, you just did this. You just fired this person. What is really going on here? And I think the Nuggets, just like the Grizzlies, whether it was the right or wrong, quote unquote, decision, the timing of it makes the rest of the league go, is this organization really as stable as we think it is? So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know what the next coach is going to be. I know that they want to groom Adelman, son of Rick Adelman, the legend. But they want to groom him, and I think they've always kind of wanted to groom him as well. Like from the beginning, the Nuggets always kind of looked at him as a guy like, hey, he's in the weeds. He can be something one day. Let's just give him a shot. But on the other hand of that, like it's kind of hard to give a guy a shot with a few days left in the season, and you're going to give him a playoffs with a playoff audition, if you will. That's hard. That's going to be really hard for him to make a good impression either way at this stage of the season.
I don't know. I mean, in some ways he has nothing to lose, right? Because he was thrust into the job with 3 games to go in the regular season. And listen, he's obviously got a great pedigree, as you mentioned, son of Rick Adelman, longtime NBA head coach in various places, notably in Sacramento during their best years,
Portland,
and many other places. But like David Adelman's been on that staff for, I don't know, 7-8 years. He's got a long track record with all these players. He knows them well. He knows what they've been running well. He has the trust of the players. My understanding is that Adelman has good cachet in that locker room. And so I think the Nuggets obviously felt pretty comfortable being able to turn this over to him, even though he doesn't have, head coaching experience and it is late in the game. Again, the only thing you can conclude, I mean, if you want to conclude that it was just like, oh, we're just throwing up our hands, like get rid of everybody because they're all fighting, fine. That is an explanation. But again, I don't think the Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic on that roster are firing Michael Malone with days left in the regular season just because of infighting. You could have solved that by fire. You could fire the GM. That's the thing. It's. I don't want to put too much on this. I don't want to overstate this. You can fire a GM in April and not have it be that bad, right? We're past the trade deadline. We're past the time when you're signing guys to 10 days or everything. Like you could operate with just your assistant GMs and whatever. And if you thought that the problem was just tension, you could just remove the GM and keep the coach. That they fired the coach to, again, tells you it's not just about the relationship with the front office. It's about the relationship with the players.
One last thing, though, on Adelman that I just want to note in terms of assistant coaches turning head coaches. It's really easy to, be a really great locker room guy and really good with the players when you're an assistant coach versus when you're a head coach, right? Because you don't have to be an asshole. You can actually just be like a guy that players lean on and be the good guy. When you're thrusted into the head coaching role, that immediately changes because you have to be both the asshole and the good guy at the same time. So There's going to
Well,
be some sort of frayed relationship where, like, maybe you had a good relationship with a young guy, and then you got to play another role, and you're like, oh, well, I thought we were cool. I thought we were like. There are different intricacies that go through the change of going from that assistant coach seat where you got your arm around a lot of guys versus like you have to make tough decisions as a head coach. So that's just one of the many things that Adelman will have to deal with. Yeah, he has nothing to lose, but also he has to navigate these things on the fly while it's, you're competing for a playoff spot and ultimately a championship. It's a really hard balance. Like I think about Joe Mazzulla, right, who had to do that balance, but he had a whole season to figure that out, right? And they still kind of flamed out. Now you're talking about having an assistant coach being thrusted into something. It's April 11th, right? Like the playoffs start in a week. That's really hard to do. And yeah, he does have nothing to lose, but also he has everything to lose because say if they get swept, like, are you going to just go do a coaching search? You're going to say, oh, we're good with David Adelman. And if you say we're good with David Adelman, what are you going off of? The 8 years of him as an assistant or the 4-game sample size that you saw in the playoffs? So like it's really, that's why it's so hard to do this move at this time.
The cliche among coaches is, it's like the move of 12 inches to the left on the bench, 12 inches to the right, however your bench is configured. But that 12 inches that you moved seats from assistant to head coach makes all the difference in the world. And it is a different job. So you're right, Logan. And if you're now the one who's benching a guy in the fourth quarter, or you're the one who's curtailing a guy's minutes or whatever, instead of you being the voice of empathy as like, hey man, sorry Malone didn't play you, but now you're the guy who has to make the hard call and possibly piss off the players. So there's that part. But the other thing is, you can't underestimate just the personality element here. Michael Malone's a really great coach. And again, somebody I like a lot personally. I've known him since he was an assistant coach in New York 20 years ago when I first got here. But he's old school. He's old school and he's kind of a hard ass. And we know in this league that you can only, coaches who are built like that and who lead with that kind of style, there's sometimes a shelf life. I don't know what David Adelman's approach will be. I don't know what his coaching personality will be as a head coach. We'll see as these days and weeks ahead unfold. But I think this is one of those cases where the old school approach just wasn't working anymore with this group of players.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. They play really well against the Kings, but that's the Kings. So we'll see how they do going forward. They have a matchup against the Grizzlies, I believe, tonight or tomorrow night. That's gonna be really fun. So we'll see what happens, man. They're gonna roll with this, and it's gonna be interesting. No new coach and no GM. What's the worst that can happen? Let's take a quick break, and we're gonna do a branded segment. This Ringer NBA show brought to you by FanDuel. It's the final stretch of the NBA season, and the playoff picture is changing by the minute. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. Join FanDuel today. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/RingerNBA to get in on all the play-in tournament action. That's FanDuel.com/RingerNBA for your shot at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 years and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. And we are back. Howard, this episode of Clutch Plays is brought to you by Amazon Business. And speaking of Clutch Plays, we're going to talk about Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves, who got a big win over the Memphis Grizzlies. One of the things that I be hitting Cliff at like 10 at night or 10 at night his time because I know he up and I know he wants to talk hoop. Either I'm talking to him about what's going on with topics or I'm hitting him with like some random West Coast rap. Just nothing but a link. But last night me and him got to talking and I wanted to bring that to this podcast because we're talking about the Timberwolves and we're talking about and relitigating the trade that happened preseason with the New York Knicks. And obviously they got rid of Cat. Obviously they took back Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. White Dante. Sorry, guys. I covered the guy and still don't know how to say his last name. But anyways, one thing I wanted to ask you, because Timberwolves are playing really well. They're one of the hottest teams post All-Star break. Ant is playing well, and they've really done a good job. I know they're 8th in the West, but big win, and they are trying to get into the mix. But what I wanted to ask you is, based on the trade and your expectations of the trade, the expectations of the trade for the Minnesota Timberwolves, did the Minnesota Timberwolves underachieve based on what you thought they were going to be, or overachieve based on what you thought they were going to be post-trade in the preseason?
Overachieve or underachieve based off the trade, not based on what we saw, like them going to the conference finals last year, but resetting our expectations.
Resetting our expectations based on the trade.
Yeah, because obviously there's a pretty severe dip in wins, and so by most people's assessments, you're going to say, year to year, they took a pretty big step backward. But no, at the time of the trade, I think I went round and round that week, Logan. Like, it was obviously made for financial reasons. They didn't trade Karl Anthony Towns because they thought that Julius Randle was going to be a better fit. That's not the case. This was absolutely a financial deal, and not because they were being cheap, but because they're worried about second apron concerns and being able to keep re-signing Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and all these guys. Like, they had to get their books right. That's what was pushing this through. But then you get to the basketball fundamentals of it, and it's like, well, you're definitely a step down going from Towns to Julius Randle. No offense, Julius Randle, but that's a step down. But you're picking up DiVincenzo, who, great three-point shooter, feisty defender. Guy had a lot of great clutch moments for the Knicks the previous season.
Great locker room guy. Can handle the ball a little bit. He's not exactly your backup point guard, but like he can, take some of the pressure off of Ant and Mike Conley. So I got it. Did I expect the Timberwolves to be as great this year as they were a year ago with Randle and DiVincenzo instead of Towns? No, I didn't. I think I don't remember what I would have said preseason, or if I did address this preseason. I think they're about where I would have expected, maybe a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. But only lower by like the image of looking at the standings, right? They're close to 50 wins right now. They're on pace for 49 wins.
Yeah, and they're seventh, but they're seventh by being in a three-way tie with the Warriors and Wolves, 6, 7, 8, and they're only like one win behind the Nuggets, who are in fourth. So it's not that bad. Like, if they win one more game, we're going like, oh well, they're in fourth place. Like, they didn't do too badly. It's still a step back. I think they won like 56 games last year. Yeah. So it's still a bit of a step back. It's going to end up being 7, 8 fewer wins. But as you noted, they've been pretty good since the All-Star break. They've got like the 4th best offense since the All-Star break. Defense has been 13th since the All-Star break, but so net rating 7th since the All-Star break, 16-8 record. That's pretty good. That's pretty solid. And Randle has looked better in the back half than he did at the outset. DiVincenzo, I think, the same. Ant has been pretty damn good. Defensively, the rating doesn't look great, but like between Gobert, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, Ant himself, like they've got a lot of guys who can play D. Like, we don't know where this playoff race is going, right? It is an absolute jumble. The Timberwolves could end up in the conference finals, and we'll say they didn't take a step back at all despite downgrading from Towns to Randle. Like, that's on the table.
I believe that as well. And I think we'll look back on this season from Anthony Edwards. I mean, obviously there was the stuff that we've said with maturity, I think still tracks in the backlash in terms of like how we feel about his actions on the court that have nothing to do with basketball. Well, I think still track, but I think we'll look back on this season as the season that really like showed at least me something about who Anthony Edwards is as a star player, right? Like, and a guy that can really carry a team higher than the expectations that we have for them. Now, For you, like, I think we had a difference in opinion of the trade when it went down. Like, I thought that I really liked it for the Timberwolves. I know that like it was a downgrade in terms of like Karl Towns, but I thought in the long term that this could be good for them in the locker room or on court and make them go, I don't know, maybe deeper in the playoffs, but definitely have an effect of. And there were times where Karl Towns got played off the floor defensively, right? Like, and that was definitely a detriment to them in the postseason. And I thought that this could uh, give more minutes to Naz Reid when he's supposed to get them, and not really have a clash in the locker room when that does happen. And I thought that this could probably catapult them a little bit more. I did not expect this Karl Towns season, right, where he's having these outbursts offensively and things like that. I didn't know that was going to happen, but I did have a bit of more of an upside. That being said, based on what has happened in the early season struggles that the Timberwolves had, for Ant to really lead this team into where they are right now is really, really impressive, right? Like, you talked about how good he's been since the All-Star game. We put some stats to that. He's averaged nearly 28 a game, 5 boards, nearly 5 assists. He had a monster. He was so good last night in Memphis in a game that they had to have.
Yeah.
And I always gauge games from superstars on that level, right? Like, you look at what Anthony Edwards did in controlling the game and meeting the moment, especially in that first half. I think he had like 23 in the first. And you juxtapose that with what Ja didn't do in that game where they absolutely needed him. And that doesn't give me any confidence that Ja can do anything against the Nuggets when they play them tonight. But when to see Anthony Edwards be able to carry a team in the way that he has been really, really impressive. And I think we're going to look back on this season, maybe not one of his best ones, but one of those things where it showed the rest of the league, oh, this guy can continue to carry a team no matter what the circumstances are and no matter what the roster is. There is a standard that this guy can keep us at while we figure everything else out.
Yeah, and listen, like stars get defined by their postseasons in particular, right? So I think he's had a really solid regular season. He's going to be somewhere, in the top 2 All NBA teams. Trying to remember where he finished last year, but he'll be first or second team this year, probably second. And like Anthony Edwards has done everything that's been asked of him, I think. Like, there's always a little bit more you want from your superstars, right? Could you, a little bit more playmaking, a little bit more consistency defensively. You're always going to ask for a little bit more. And there's been, I think, a little bit more on him because, he to his credit, he empowered Towns to do a lot, even while he took the lead. And then he had to adjust to like, well, what is my, what's my responsibility now with Randall instead, right? Another guy who's going to do a lot with the ball in his hands, maybe sometimes too much with the ball in his hands, and then figure out how to play with him, empower him, but not over empower him, because Randall will take that to the limit. Cliff reminding me, Ant Edwards was in fact second team last year, and I think he will be again. But we'll judge him on the playoffs. He's still really young in his trajectory. I can't wait to see what this run looks like. Unfortunately, or fortunately, actually, I mean, as we sit here on the last weekend of the regular season, we still have no clue. Are the Wolves a playoff team or a play-in team? And then what's their first round matchup going to be depending on where they land? We don't know. But I think all eyes are going to be on him to see, like, okay, this is your encore, right? You got to the conference finals last year, and trade or no trade, we're going to judge Anthony Edwards based on what we see now in the postseason again.
Timberwolves Rockets is very intriguing, is what I will say.
Yes.
Very, very, very intriguing.
Yeah. And that's on the table. It may not happen, but it's very possible.
Man, I'm just like, you put my money on, in terms of the young guys, like the Jaws, I shouldn't even say this, but the LaMelos of the world, the Lucas of the world. Anthony Edwards is right there, man. And he's probably like of the young guys. And it was really interesting to see the Mavericks play the Timberwolves last year. It showed that the Timberwolves do have a lot, and Ant in particular has a long way to go. But I think he's like second right there. He's right up there with Luka in terms of the guys that you want as a young guy. Shea obviously is there. I mean, he's in a class of his own this season. but really, really impressed with Ant. I really want him to just get a suitable co-star, right? Like Julius Randle is obviously a second option, but like he's not really the true second option that you would want on a championship team. It just is what it is, right? And that'll be probably his biggest contribution to the team is being traded for eventual second type option. But I really want that for him. I really want that for Ant, just to have that secondary guy because so much is put on his shoulders, right? I think even more so than Shea, right? Like at least Shea has J-Dub. There's really not a guy. The gap between the talent level of Ant and the rest of the roster is pretty jarring, and I just want that to be closed a little bit. A last-second three-pointer, that's the kind of play that defines winners. And when it comes to business, Amazon Business is your clutch performer with fast access to essential supplies and flexible purchasing options. They are there when you need them the most, so you can tackle unexpected demands and keep your business in the game. Visit business.amazon.com to learn more. I live in the Bay, Howard, and there is no there there. There is there there. Is there there? There there. I don't know. All right. I want to, before we get to the mailbag, which I'm sure all of you guys are looking forward to, including myself, I want to give you a list of teams really quickly. I want to kind of I have one question for each Western Conference play-in team. That matters, okay? I don't want to talk about the Dallas Mavericks or the Sacramento Kings or Kangs because there's be too much negativity. I want to talk about the teams that can actually do something in the play-in race if they actually get into the playoffs. So I got a question for you for each of these teams. We'll go down the list. This is Western Conference only. This is West Coast bias. Forget Cliff and the East Coast. Forget Howard in this context, too, because he's a Brooklyn boy. We're going all to the West Coast, baby. All right. First question. First team is the Clippers. How much do you trust Kawhi's health throughout the next 2 months? And can the Clippers backdoor to a championship? Is this the year somehow? Do you trust them?
This is like an excruciating one. Everything the Clippers have done on the court, especially since Kawhi came back, suggests very, very strongly that this team can make to the finals. It just does. Like
Ty Lue should get some Coach of the Year consideration. I'm just saying he's not going to get it, but he should get some. He should get some votes.
He was in the running on my ballot, but then like the Rockets surge and Ime, like it's just going to be tough. Like between Bickerstaff, Kenny Atkinson, and Ime, I feel like that's the ballot in some order. But Lou should get a lot of love too, and he's done a phenomenal job. Like if we could just stipulate, and the problem is we can't, but if we could stipulate Kawhi Leonard staying healthy from now until mid to late May, maybe into June, I could see the Clippers in the finals. I could. Like James Harden's had a really good season, and I know you laugh what you want about James Harden and his postseason record in the past.
That's what I was going to ask you, Howard. Can Kawhi be good enough to overcome a James Harden on-court crash out?
He doesn't have to overcome it. The fact is that the roles are reversed for James Harden. Harden always had to be the lead guy in Houston and co-lead in Philly, and it didn't last that long there. But most of like the rap on Harden is a really rough postseason record in Houston. And when I say record, I don't mean win-loss. I mean his shooting numbers. I mean his just poor performances. Him just like fading. But that's because he carried such a huge load, and because they were so heliocentric and Harden-centric. And this is not that. Harden just has to be a really great second fiddle or even some nights third fiddle because they've got Norm Powell. They got a great defense. Like, just stipulate health. The Clippers can go really deep. No question.
What about Zubac being the new David Robinson?
Zubac has been awesome. Zubac should get some all defensive team love too, by the way.
Absolutely, man. Okay, I agree with you. I mean, I always think the Clippers are fool's gold, but they're so good right now. Like they are really, really good, and they're coming on at the right time. Kawhi,
and I don't blame anybody, Logan, if they say like I just don't believe. It's totally fair.
I don't believe it. Like, I think they could, but I don't believe it. You know, I think that
the
they
record
have
is
all
what it is.
It's not even that. It's like, yo, man, Kawhi's gonna play bro. I was at the game I think it was game 1 of Suns Clippers a couple years back in the playoffs, and like Kawhi was so good in that game. I think it was the first 2 games. He was so good. He won the first game, and I thought he was the best guy on the planet. And 2 games later, he's out for the rest of the playoffs. That is the Kawhi experience, right? Like that's just is what it is. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if they can get to the finals, and if they win the finals, I'm curious to see the 2 people on Figueroa that's going to show up to the parade. But that's
Billy Crystal and Michael Pina.
No, he's going to be crying because the Celtics lost. All right. Let's talk about the Grizzlies really quickly. In a word about the Grizzlies, yuck. But did the Grizzlies have enough mental fortitude to overcome what their front office did to them with the firing of their coach?
I don't like the framing of this question. I'm not I the Grizzlies did this to themselves. The players did this too. Like, let's not let them off the hook for the Taylor Jenkins firing. They play a role in this.
Okay.
Can the Grizzlies just overcome themselves? Let's just put it that way. I don't have any faith in them. I just don't. The way the season has played out, they can't settle on, well, they have settled on now, an offense that's a little bit more Josh-centric again after going away from him. But he's had a really goofy season, partially just, I think, lack of engagement at times, partially just he wasn't available for a lot of the season. He missed a lot of time because of injury. Ja Morant is a really fun player, and I think can be a winning player when he's locked in. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a really good player. Desmond Bane's a really good player. This is not, though, your classic big 3 of superstars. I don't know that any of those 3 guys are none of them are perennial all NBA. And normally you need an MVP caliber player to lead you. None of those guys are in the top 10 of the NBA.
I see, man. We were talking about this pre-pod. I historically have just not liked the Memphis Grizzlies roster, man. I don't, and I'll just echo what I said pre-pod. I don't like Ja's game for obvious reasons, right? He goes to the cup so much, doesn't really have a jump shot, kind of gets predictable in the postseason, hasn't worked on his game, all those things, right? Doesn't stay healthy. Then Jaren Jackson kind of is who he is, fouls all the time, can be a good defensive player, but isn't disciplined enough to be that good of a defensive player. And I think Desmond Bane, as great as he is going to be really, really good on another championship team in a couple of years, right? I just think that he is miscast as a third best player on a roster when he's really 4 or 5, maybe, if he's 4th or 5th on a championship roster, I think you're in really, really good shape. And I think they kind of hit their course. I think they are who they are. I think their peak was in 2022, and I think they might be at their very peak, a second round team. I think we talked about this. I have no faith in the Grizzlies. Anything you want to say about the Grizzlies, Howard, before we get to the next team? Anything you want to say to the people?
No, the only other thing I'll say is I do fully expect they are at best a first round out if they make the playoffs. And I do think, without getting into details, there's going to be some changes this offseason.
Whole lot of changes. They need to tear it down. I mean, honestly, if the changes that I think you're talking about, they need to tear it down to the studs. Anyway, let's go to the Golden State Warriors. Will the real Jimmy Butler please stand up? Will he ever show up, Howard? Will the real Jimmy Butler ever show up? Are you confident even after this? I know that there was a really, really good end to the season, aside from Harry B out here getting buzzer beaters, you know what I'm saying? But that was cool. But Jimmy Butler, we haven't had a Jimmy Butler game to down the stretch of the season that would give the Warriors fan base and the Warriors as a whole confidence that playoff Jimmy still lives, right? So are you confident that playoff Jimmy Butler, will appear at just the right time? Because honestly, they need down the stretch Jimmy Butler right now, and he hasn't really shown up. they need extra alpha over these last 2 games if they're going to avoid the play-in, and they need Jimmy Butler in a real way. I don't know if he's going to show up. Do you think he's going to show up?
I mean, dude took off enough games this year through suspensions and other stuff that he should have plenty left in the tank, right? I do think that the Warriors, including Jimmy in this, expended quite a bit after Jimmy got there, right? Like they had this new energy. Like everybody was energized by Jimmy's arrival. And they've played their butts off, but they've had to expend some energy just to get back into the thick of things. And it's just the rough thing about the West is one loss, one Harrison Barnes, shot at the buzzer, all of a sudden drops you possibly to play-in range. And, now you're down to the last, as we speak today, where, there's 2 games left.
Portland
on
tonight
schedule.
and the Clippers on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's like you probably have to win out just to make sure you don't fall into the play-in. I think we'll see the real Jimmy Butler. I think we'll see playoff Jimmy. I think playoff Jimmy's a real thing. Now, playoff Jimmy's a real thing not just because of what we saw in the couple of times that he almost single-handedly dragged the Heat to the finals in 2020 against the Lakers and then again against the Nuggets a couple of years ago. It's that there's 2 things about Jimmy that fascinate me. One is it does sometimes seem like he doesn't take the regular season as seriously. So playoff Jimmy is really more about I'm just kind of marking time until I get to the games that really matter because I know we're going to be there and that's when I'm going to expend the most energy. So you're not going to get 100% Jimmy in the regular season. So that's part of the difference. The other part is I've noted this before, that part of what I've actually really loved about his game over the years is that he does not insist on trying to do everything. I don't have to take every shot. I don't have to have a 30-35 usage rate. And he's on a team where he can be just complimentary to Steph. But as we've seen in some recent games, including in that loss to Houston, when the Rockets just had Steph locked up, that's when you need Jimmy to come through. Now, that's the question, right? If there's a night like that in the playoffs where Steph is locked up or Steph for some reason just doesn't have it, and the defense is taking him out, can Jimmy step into that number 1 role? And look, he's got a lot of miles on him too. Let's not forget, he's 35 and hard miles on him. So I think it's fair to wonder.
Thibodeau miles on him.
He's got some Tibbs years. There's some Tibbs years in there. So I think it's fair to wonder.
I think
he'll be there.
I mean, to your point about, and I was going to bring up that Houston game because I was at that game, and there was just a confusion of this is why the Warriors brought you here, right? And I know there's been talk about him being Iguodala or being a version of Iguodala. This Warriors team doesn't need Iguodala. It needs Jimmy Butler. it needs a high volume rate of Jimmy Butler. Since he got with the Warriors, he's only averaging 10 field goal attempts per game. And that game you speak of against the Rockets, he only had 7 attempts at the basket. It's not good. Yeah. So he's going to have to figure that out. I know the coaches want him about 17 attempts per game. That would probably be where you would want him in the postseason. And they're confident that he'll get there, but I think that there's a bit of well, which Jimmy are we going to get, man? We need aggressive Jimmy down the stretch. It's particularly through these next 2 games because it's a matter of the play-in or or getting to the playoffs and having not only think about the play-in is if you get to the playoffs, you have a whole week off as opposed to the play-in where you have to play maybe 1 or 2 games, and that puts a toll on an already old team. So not to bring ageism into this, I do that enough with Howard, but with older teams, you gotta figure it out.
You'll see playoff Beck. He'll be there.
Okay. I mean, shit. You're a little bit more aggressive during the regular season than Jimmy Butler is. I'll just say that. Last 2 teams on the list, we already talked about the Wolves and the Nuggets. So nothing there. Let's get to a motherfucking mailbag. Cliff, my guy. What's going on, man?
Howard, man. What's going on? Logan, what's going on? Had a lot of technical difficulties today, but we're going to get you out of here, Howard. I know you got a nice little...
I got to hit the road.
Yeah, you got a nice little East Coast drive you got there. A lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Killing me.
All right. This first one is from Adam Bowe. I hope this message finds you all well and satiated by life. Question: with the dramatic and, dare I say, ill-advised coaching firings of the past few weeks, which team would you say is better prepared to maintain competitiveness and satisfy their respective star going forward? Thanks for considering my question. Sincerely, Adam Bowe.
So he's referring to Denver and Memphis?
Correct.
Yeah. I think Denver. I think Denver's more prepared. I think they have more of a veteran locker room. I think there's a little bit more symmetry between the star player and the front office in this point, right? Like, based on what Howard got aggregated for earlier this season at our live show, there is definitely a divide in Memphis between the star player and the front office, right? Like, I think that Denver can make the argument that, hey, we did this in service of our star player, as opposed to as an indictment of our star player. So, I would say the Nuggets are a bit more equipped in the postseason and beyond to figure things out than the Grizzlies.
No, I think that's really well put. I mean, we have no question about, and granted, it's sometimes hard to like speak to like the alignment of the Nuggets front office and coach, or front office and star player, when they don't really have a front office.
The owner's box, excuse me.
Yeah, listen, the Nuggets as an institution know what they have in Nikola Jokic, know what he needs, and know that they're going to do everything possible within reason and within their salary cap constraints. So I don't worry about like whoever's leading that front office starting this summer, or probably sooner because you want to get somebody in place before the draft. Whoever they put in place, it's going to be very clear. We do everything possible to maximize the rest of Nikola Jokic's career and make sure that he's in a position to try to contend for titles every year. The Grizzlies can't say the same because Ja Morant has not been reliable as a player, as a personality, as a face of the franchise. And we're seeing that again over the last couple of weeks, and we don't need to go down this rabbit hole right now, but come on, like everything that he's done, defying the league on all this stuff about the finger guns and then going to a
somehow he said that launching
thing.
Grenades is better than, shooting guns. Jesus.
I have made the argument that the launching grenades, while grenades I guess could probably be more deadly than a gun, grenades are comical. We don't have a society where we actually have people running around throwing grenades, at least yet, thank God. We do have a gun epidemic in this country. We do have a gun violence problem. So mocking that,
and a gun violence problem, not for nothing, a gun violence problem in the city of Memphis, bro. Like, that's not something to play with, man.
No.
Like it's
right.
That's why it's so annoying with Ja, bro. That's why this shit is so annoying, man. You're and also it's annoying because he tries to take the enlightened route about like, oh yeah, like this. I'm just making a point. This is fine. This is not even that bad. Like, bro, like you're not sounding smart.
He's also trying to play victim. His quote the other night was about the fine, which he finally addressed. I wasn't surprised, just for showing people what's pretty much been evident for the last 2 years. What's been evident? That like the league has it in for him? Like, come on, man. Like, you've brought this all on yourself. And
nobody told you. Wait, hold on, bro. Nobody told you to put a gun on IG Live, bro. Nobody told you to do that. And twice in your private life. We didn't want to see that. That's not something that we wanted to see.
The persecution complex is just ridiculous, and I think again shows a lack of maturity and a lack of self-awareness, and it also indicates that he probably has not learned anything since all those things happened over the last couple of years. Which brings me to this: like, I'm not going to do anything to get reaggregated. I've already gone down this road once. But are we sure the Grizzlies want to hang on to him and make him the star, their franchise face for the next however many years? Are we sure that is what's in the best interest of the Grizzlies as a franchise? And I don't think that that's clear. So the answer to our emailer's question is very clear. Like, Denver with Jokic is easily the choice here.
Yeah, he just Glorilla got to get him in check. This next question is from Henrik.
Did you say Glorilla got to get him in check?
Yeah.
She can't. She ain't even in Memphis. She on tour.
Hey man, she pop back. She pop back up every once in a while. All right, Henrik Lewinham from Stockholm.
Yeah, Glow.
This is short and sweet. Greetings from sunny and cold Stockholm. Are we sure Chris Finch is a good coach? Henrik. That's it. That's the question.
First of all, shout out to the motherland. You know what I mean? Shout out to
Stockholm, Spotify headquarters.
Great place. Fun place.
Yeah.
Cinnamon buns, man. Yeah, love those things. Phenomenal. Love Stockholm.
I think Chris Finch is a really good coach. I don't think he's a bad coach at all. I don't
too.
think that's even a question. I think he's.
I don't think it's a question either.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, without any elaboration from our emailer, I don't know what exactly you're calling into question. So,
Hey, maybe he's calling in his coaching this question.
All right,
all
shout
right.
out Sweden.
Shout out Sweden for sure. Shout out Sweden. All right, this last one: USA versus the rest of the world. This is from Gerard Carleone. Hey, hi, real ones. As an Australian who has followed the NBA for the last 40 years, I watch with interest with the non-Americans rise over time. With the state of the NBA and international play, do you think the best American players could still beat a team comprised of the best international players? I think the rest of the world would now win pretty easily, but interested in the real one's take. Thanks, Gerard Carleone.
So is it like Giannis and Jokic and like
And
one
Embiid
world
or
team
whoever
like that,
decides.
Embiid?
Yeah.
Wemby, yeah.
Yep.
Can Embiid get on the
That beat
court?
the Americans.
Can Embiid
Shea,
get
all
on the
them.
court? Will Embiid even make a game? Can he actually like play a
Listen,
full
man,
game?
he just went surgery. He's gonna be all right. He'll be back next year.
You
saw-
could take Embiid. You could take
Wait, no,
Embiid out of
Embiid is an
this.
American. He's an American. What do you mean? Wait, is he French? He's American. What is
All right,
he?
is he
What
making the
hell is
American
he?
team? Is he making the American team then?
No,
No,
not
you
if
could-
not if prime Anthony Davis is there.
If you're just constructing a team, if we just went 5-on-5 and you're starting 5 for the world, take Embiid out of it. But like Jokic, Wemby, Giannis, Shea, who's our 5th starter? Luka.
Yeah.
That team might smoke whichever 5 Americans we put up. Yeah.
Straight up.
I don't even know. Like we could
I get
Who's
five
the best
Americans?
5 American players. Who's the
I
best
could
five
get-
We're doing this
I
on
could
the
get-
fly. So
I could get Ant Edwards, right? I could get Ant
Yeah.
Edwards.
yeah.
I
Yep.
could get as a center.
Tatum?
I could get Tatum, Cat.
Wait, can you get Jalen? No, wait. Actually, no.
Yeah.
Nike wouldn't let it happen.
No.
What about a healthy Kyrie? Can I get a healthy Kyrie? What I
Steph.
want, all right, Bron. Well, Bron,
Steph.
Steph.
Bron, KD.
But no,
Yes.
no.
Right.
I would say this. The caveat, though, is
Yeah.
like under like 35. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Under
the
35.
emailer didn't give any age requirements or restrictions.
So wait, so no Bron, no KD, no Steph.
Steph, AD, Tatum, Braun. Who's our center?
Cat.
Ooh, defensively, they're putting Cat on Nikola Jokic, dog.
I mean,
Bam?
look, dog.
we
Cat's
get
gonna
Bam?
do that production. Would you want Bam over Cat as far as production?
We got
Cat
scoring.
Yeah,
I want rim protection. I want
Okay.
defense.
Olympian Bam. Yeah, I like that.
Not
As
that
a
Bam's a
five.
classic rim protector, but still.
Damn,
But
dog. We might need Asia Wilson.
Yo,
What we doing?
maybe Draymond's at the
yo,
5.
we might need Sarah Strong, yo.
I'm gonna just say this though. Draymond did not have a good international career. In that fucking 2016 Olympics, he was not good. And I don't know if there was like extra things he didn't fit it within Coach K's offense, but like,
All right.
I don't know.
Regardless, the international team that we just like did off the top of our heads just looks insane. So like,
It does.
I hate to say it, I think America's getting its butt kicked.
I might be closer than you think.
I'm trying to go to Australia, man. Yo, all the real ones. Send me some place to go in Australia, bro. I'm trying to go. You know what I mean? Let's go. All right, we got to get Beck out of here, man. I wanted to do one more, but we
Thank
got to
you.
get Beck the hell out of here. Let's get him on I-95. All right, that's been another edition of Real Ones. As always, realonesmailbag@gmail.com, 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 realonesmailbag@gmail.com. You thought Howard was just on Zach Lowe. Real one first. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Tap in, all the shit. Shout out to Cliff. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Roger, wherever you are, buddy. Talk to y'all soon. Bye. Must be 21 years and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, and 18 years and older and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.